Hello and welcome back to one of our mini training sessions on Workbooks CRM aimed at existing Workbooks users or indeed anyone seriously looking at Workbooks as a new CRM system. And in this one, we're going to cover the options for automation and integration in Workbooks CRM. So for many businesses, users, the prospect of implementing new automation tools and features could feel a little bit daunting because we're using terms like API keys, workflows, scripts, plugins. All those terms can be what might seem fairly complex to a non-technical person and maybe a little bit intimidating as well, leaving you perhaps unsure of where to start or where they fit into your workbook setup. So have no fear, because that's exactly what we're going to address today in this session. We're going to try and take the mystery out of the terms of workbooks automation. We're going to take a closer look. We're going to dive into the automation section of the configuration part of workbooks. Now, normally it would just be an administrator that dives into this part or has access to this part of workbooks, but it's relevant to all users. So everyone has a sort of understanding of some of these more advanced, sophisticated functions within workbooks. So we're going to explain what each option does and explain some of the examples of how a workbook system can use it. So hello, my name is Tim Wilmot, joined by my colleague Stuart Lawrenson-Hind, and our company, Wizard Systems. We're a leading independent CRM solutions provider of systems like workbooks, and we help out organizations use simple and affordable solutions to improve their sales, marketing, and customer service productivity. So thanks for joining us today, those of you on here live, for this little mini training session, one of our series of sessions taking a deeper dive into different workbooks topics. Now, the audio part of this session is one way only. Your microphone is on mute, so don't worry about any background noise at your end. If you've got any questions for us, there'll be a little Q&A session at the end. We'd love to answer your questions, so type them in as you think of them. Okay, well, let me hand over to my colleague Stuart, and let's go into that configuration automation section in a bit more detail then.
Okay, workbooks and automation. So I'm going to go through these in the order that workbooks have them laid out. And as you can see, as Tim mentioned, I'm in the configuration area of workbooks. And the first one on the list is one of them that he mentioned, APIs. So we'll go straight in and have a look. Now, I don't have any API keys in this training system, but this is where Workbooks integrates with external systems. It could be a marketing solution, financial, and so on. And these keys are the secure handshake between the two applications, and they give the external system access to the data as though it was you. So it has your capabilities and your permissions. Now, not everyone can create these, and there's coding that takes place, so most people won't ever see this, but it just shows that workbooks can integrate with many external systems. The idea behind it is, in fact, if I just very quickly show you this to walk you through it, you create the key, you assign it who it's going to be, whether it's automation or a particular user or a particular group of users, obviously give it a name, give it a description, because that would help if you've got several APIs running at the same time. You then set up restrictions, like is it only to run until the end of the month, or till the end of the year? Is it only to run from certain IP addresses, so only certain people can run it? Then once it's created, it can then be linked to the external application by the use of a key that it generates, this unique code. And you go to the other application and it would say enter API key, and you paste that in, and that creates this handshake. So that's API keys, sort of in its simplest thing. I'm paraphrasing here, but hopefully the principle is there. Okay, Plugins. Now, these are built into Workbooks and they're integrations with certain systems. We've got some installed here. The case portal, event management, GoToWebinar are a few that you can see that have been installed. And if you were installing one from scratch, you just click on the option to install, select it from the list. I'm going to go with the email to case that we demoed a few 101s ago. And my only option here is install. And most of these run the same way. It will create the process for you. It's installing. And you can now see what it's telling you to do. Go to configuration, email integration, email to case to configure the integration. And this is a script that runs in the background that does all the hard work for you, leaving the user just to configure this. And you can open and close it and come back to this as you see fit. But that's how easy it is to install a plugin that's been provided. It's worth mentioning here that these plugins are provided free by Workbooks, but there might be a paid subscription to the service at the other end that would make something work. So it's just worth being aware of those. Next one on the list, triggers. Now, these clever little devils are waiting for something to happen in Workbooks and then react. Again, you can see there is a few here already. For example, there is a trigger here that emails the account manager of a contact when a support case is created, so that they're made aware that one of their contacts has just logged a case. There's a trigger here that emails certain people when an order has been posted. So people in different departments are aware that an order for maybe a big project has been posted. And the idea behind these is to automate steps when an action is carried out. Now, the most useful of these is when a record is created, it triggers the action to take place. Again, there isn't much to show here, but if I open the posted orders one that I mentioned, the idea behind this is that you build the trigger up. What record type it's related to. You see there it says customer orders. When does it fire? In other words, what triggers this automation? So it's going to change when records change, when bulk actions changes it, when desktop changes it, when the API changes it. And what are the rules behind this? And you can see this one is selected to go when the record is created or updated. That's it. The trigger is ready. It can be then linked to a service, linked to a process to fire when something meets the criteria. So that's a trigger. All right. On to the next one. One of the first big ones in the system, processes. Now, Workbooks have broken these down into various headings that you can see across the top of the screen. I'm not going to go into any great detail. I'll just give you an idea of what each one does. Okay, we're on scheduled tasks. Hopefully one of the easiest. These are tasks that run at a certain time, on a certain day, forever, or until it gets to the end date in the process. And they just run in the background all the time, just carrying out the work that you've told it to do. On change processes. Now, these run when the value of a record changes. An example would be the SLA that you see here. The process knows when the case was created, it knows today's date, and it knows the rules of the SLA for the record. It can then update a field to alert users. So here it knows all the rules of cases, it knows how often to run, and it knows what to take care of. It's got a script here that controls the SLA agreements. And probably the best thing to do here is to show you it. I have a case here, and you can see quite clearly, because it knows today's date and it knows the case was created, the moment the user opens the case, they can see there a lovely red band saying, alert, alert, something's not right. Here it says first resolution breach. The text can be your own, it can all be customized, but the user knows the moment they open this support case, this needs looking at. You can have different colors, red, amber, green, but the idea is this all ran in the background. A human didn't go through the records to decide, oh, this one's breached. the record tipped over to a certain date, it breached the SLA and alerted the system. And of course, this could also email people as well as part of that trigger, so that not only do you see it when you open it, you'll send emails to know that this record has broken the SLA agreement. So that's on change processes. Web processes, right. There are a few here. Now, this is a link between a website and your data. Now, a good example of this would be the Contact Us form that runs on a website. A visitor fills in the form, clicks a button, and the process takes over, creates a lead record, alerts a user, and responds to the sender. And that's all done through this process. It's all looked after. You see the few in here for things like event management and GoToWebinar authentication. They all work by having a website and linking to information on that website and driving it into workbooks. Right, integration. Now, this is an odd one. It takes a little bit of explaining, because this creates a web portal, sometimes referred to as an iframe, so that you can configure a third-party app that is linked to in workbooks. Again, we've got some ones here, things like the case portal, credit safe, DocuSign event management, field updater. And the idea is that you don't have to keep going to a configuration outside of Goldmine to make simple changes. It creates a lovely page within the system so that you can manage it and stay in workbooks while you're doing it. Right, I'm going to switch the next two because it makes it a little bit easier. I'll go to button processes first. This is exactly, again, as it sounds. These work when a user clicks a button. The most commonly used one is the save button. And one clever trick here is that a button process doesn't have to run as the person that presses the button. So it means that, for example, a user that might not be able to create cases, but when an order is placed on a record, it could select the option to create a case, because there might be some installation that is required to take place, but the user can't create cases. But when they create an order, this process can generate a case on their behalf. And again, lots of options. It doesn't have to be save. Save is the most common one. Again, really powerful. On the flip side of that is grid processes. Similar to buttons, but rather than clicking on a button, the user selects the option from a view. And let me show you an example here. We've created the ability to create an opportunity from a record that appears in a campaign. So you've sent out an e-marketing campaign, you got some emails back, and you notice that one of the responses, I'm really interested in this, can we take this further? And what you'd normally have to do is go to the record, find the person, go to the transactions, or go to the opportunity and build it up. But what we've done here is we can go straight to this campaign. I'm going to pick on Alan, who we use over and over again. And you notice this little down arrow follows me as I go across the screen. If I go to Alan, create opportunity. So we've added the ability to create, oh, that'll be me. Should have enabled it first. But the option is there to create this from within this particular area. And you can post these all over the place to make the system easier, so you're not constantly jumping backwards and forwards to get to where you want to be. Right. So we've done button processes, grid processes, report processes. Now, I rather like this one as it makes things nice and easy. One of the features that we've mentioned many times is the power of Workbooks reporting. And you use this process to carry out a bulk action based on a report. One of the big examples that's referred to is the ability to create invoices from orders that meet a certain criteria. So you use this process to build the report that shows the orders. You add the process to the automation tab of the report, and it creates the invoices for you. Quick, very powerful. Last but least in this section is test. And it's just what it says, it's the test area. And this shows the results of a process without making any changes to your data. So if you're testing any of the scripts that you've seen in this system, there's an option on the script to do a test run. So you configure it, you put your parameters in, and then you click test run. Instead of it running through your data and potentially making a mess, it returns the results here. And you can go through the log and look at what it would have changed, look at what it would have updated, so that you can test it before you make it go live. Okay, that's processes. Process log. So every process you run in the system creates a log. And this is a detailed list of everything the process is done. Some of these are several lines, hundreds of lines long. The idea being that should you run into an issue, you can see at a glance what it's been doing. So here's the one I created earlier, falling nicely into my trap. And I've got 26 rows of data here that I can hand to someone who is better at this than me, who can go through this and say, oh, I know why this failed. It's because. Now I know this one failed because I stupidly tried to run it before I'd created it. But that's the idea. You hand this over to somebody, they can read through this line by line. All of this can be opened and tweaked and read through in great detail, but it logs everything. They're all in here to study. So that's process logs. Scripts, sort of referred to as the engine. And again, they've broken this down into sections to make it easier to get on with. We have my scripts. So any scripts that I've copied from the script library are stored against my user. And you can see that most of them are called things like copy of. So you can see at a glance, it's a copy of the live data. And I've tweaked them and edited them. And then I can set them up to run as automation or run just when I'm logged in. And they're all controlled by me and they're under my name. And as I mentioned, they all came from this area. Now, at the moment, there are 106 scripts. Not all alive, but any one of these could be used as it is or tweaked to make something work for you. There is that you just select it, select the option to copy it, it copies it to my scripts, and then you can tweak it and edit it and play with it and test it to make something work for you. And the last section is the private script library. Now, this is a second section of scripts that are just used for users within the system. And it's maintained and looked after by Workbooks. This has got 47. You'll notice a lot of these, it's where it places the old ones or ones that have been updated. And the updated one is in the script library, but the older one, in case you need it, is moved to the private script library. Now, it's worth bearing in mind that these scripts have been tested, but if you do tweak or edit one, then the responsibility to maintain it falls on you. If you tweak it to work as a certain user and you delete that user, obviously the script is going to fail. So make use of the documentation, make use of the description so that you know that any script you've tweaked will run in the future. Right, I mentioned there are loads in here. And a good example of this would be the email to case, one that we showed right back at the start. And I ran the process and it gave me a little pop-up to tell me what to do. And the idea being here that I could have come into this script, read this entire script and gone through it and put any parameters that I wanted to or any tweaks that I wanted to in here. And all the parameters are in here. So if I've got a certain case value, we don't use case before your case. Wizard systems, we have WZ before ours. So you can build these parameters up so that when it installs email to case for the first time, it's ready to go, almost like out of the box. It's configured and good to go. Right. So that's scripts. Now, again, the last two are sort of kind of linked. API data. The first thing I spoke about on the 101 was API keys and how it links two applications together. Now this is where Workbooks stores all the parameters for those keys. Again, won't go into too much detail, but if you have a web developer, they would use this section to build up a sequence to help a user. It could be something simple like something we've got here. There's a couple of questions that we've set on the case portal. And these are options that a visitor would see in a drop-down that when they press the submit button, drives data into Workbooks switching certain fields to certain values for us, so that we know exactly what this issue is they happen to have logged on the case portal. It's nice and simple, but again, incredibly powerful. The last one, right? This is full techie mode now. This is every section and every field in your system. If you're looking to link workbooks to anything, this is where you find the API value for that particular field. So I'll stick with cases. And if I open it, you can see that this displays every single field within the cases section. And then we can use these references, these values that they have here, within a script that drives data between the two systems. So that is API data. Let me go back to ours. And there we have it. Automation within workbooks, hopefully broken down into nice bite-sized options for you to take a look at. And with that, back to Tim.
Thanks very much, Stuart. I like the way that you slipped in the word devil in there. Very appropriate. Yes, so hopefully that's shine a little bit of light on some of the terms we use in workbooks when we're automating things or integrating things. And don't worry if you don't understand all of that we've mentioned, or some bits of it you're still a bit unclear about. The bottom line is, if you think in your workbook system right now, if you think that something could be automated, you or a user is doing something repetitive, something manual, you think that could be automating workbooks, then please contact us at Wizard Systems. Or if you are wanting to integrate to another application and you find someone is doing a bit of copying and pasting and diving into that application and retyping information, again, that could be, if it's relating to contact data, contact interactions, then it could be relevant to integrate that with your CRM system. Yeah. So if in doubt, please contact us at Wizard Systems. We're here to help you and try and explain what maybe you could do yourself. Some of those things you could do yourself. Some of the things are already in workbooks and just need to be sort of turned on. Or other things might need a little bit of hand holding and guidance from us at Wizard. So please contact us. Right. So we're about to hit our little Q&A session. Just before we dive into that, a reminder of who we are. We're CRM only resellers. We do provide a number of different CRM solutions, but Workbooks is a key product, a key solution for us aimed at small and mid-sized clients. We've got loads of years' experience of implementing these systems, and we're a one-stop shop for Workbooks. So anything to do with Workbooks, provisioning the system, consulting with you, getting it set up, integrating, automating, all the things we've covered today, training, of course, and ongoing help desk support. We're here to make sure you get the most out of Workbooks. Right. So, Stuart, we've got a few questions coming in here. First question from Paula. How much knowledge do you need on scripting? Do we need Wizard's help?
Well, obviously, as you're on the call with me, I should probably say yes. But you need a little to get you started. It's written in PHP, so any understanding of PHP would help. Workbooks give you the script, the flesh and bones of the script, and then it's up to you to go in there and set certain parameters. And most of the times, the parameters are there really clearly laid out for you to tweak. But if you're in doubt, contact us, tell us what it is that you're trying to do with the script. And of course, we can help.
Yeah. Justin, we're wary of API integrations after a previous bad experience. What's the best way to ensure our API connections are secure and reliable when connecting Workbooks to our e-commerce platform?
Good question. Okay. Yeah, well, the the API key is secure. It's a unique key that's generated by Workbooks to then put into your e-commerce platform, as you mentioned, to create this handshake between the two applications. And you're only sharing the fields that you've agreed to. It's not en masse. It doesn't share every single field in the system. It could just be company name, contact name, and account number. It doesn't have to be the financial backbone. But also, the API only runs as a certain person. So you could create a user that is perhaps almost even just read-only. So it's only reading certain data. It can't update, it can't delete, it can't edit. So you do have a fair bit of control within the API itself.
Yeah, I would say that, to add to that, that in our, nearly 13, 14 years experience of working with Workbooks, I've never come across some security loophole or issue there with the connection. So rest assured, it's all very secure and reliable for you. Right. I think the last question is from Amy. I've had bad experiences where automated processes in another CRM went wrong and sent multiple emails to customers. How can we prevent these?
Oh, do your testing.
Yeah.
Most items like that rely on a report. So I would say when you're doing the testing, don't let the report fill with the records you intend to mail until you're ready. Have one or two records in it. Have like a test group with yourself, maybe a couple of colleagues, and do the testing that way. Alternatively, you could build a test database. Workbooks lets you create additional databases for testing and training, and that way you can add the fields and the scripts to test things safely over there before you bring that over into the live environment, knowing that it's ready to go.
Yeah, good idea. Having a test database. So you can create 5 databases in Workbooks or test records. Test loads of times before you run live. Right. I don't think there's any more questions. Thanks to the 3 of you for those. Right. Just to bring this session to an end, we are on 7.3 of Workbooks. We're running an advanced course again in a couple of weeks' time. If you're interested in attending that, please let us know if you want to take your knowledge of Workbooks to another level. And any Workbooks users out there, if you've got any any suggestions for topics that you would like us to handle on a future session like this, then please contact us at Wizard Systems. So thanks very much. Those of you watching, attending live, or if you're watching recording, thanks very much for sitting through this, and we'll catch up with you soon on the next Workbooks event. Thanks very much indeed. Bye-bye.